The creature stood in the back corner of the livestock pen, its 6 legs trembling beneath a frame that had once been magnificent. Zephyrian battle horses were legendary across the galaxy, their metallic blue hides capable of deflecting plasma bolts, their minds sharp enough to calculate trajectory mid-flight. This one, however, looked nothing like the proud warriors of old. Scar tissue crisscrossed its flanks where cybernetic implants had been hastily removed. One wing hung at an odd angle, the membrane torn and poorly healed. Its once brilliant azure coat had faded to a sickly gray, and its eyes held the hollow look of defeat. The alien traders who ran this backwater station had marked it down 3 times already, but still no buyer showed interest. Maya Chen pressed her face against the energy barrier, studying the broken creature with fascination rather than disgust. At 17, she was the youngest xenobiologist ever accepted into the Terran Survey Corps, though her assignment to this remote trading post felt more like exile than opportunity. Her superiors had made it clear that her unconventional theories about interspecies bonding were not welcome in mainstream scientific circles. The Vorthak trader noticed her interest and shambled over, his tentacles writhing with what passed for merchant enthusiasm among his species. His translator crackled with static as he spoke. The device clearly as worn as everything else on this station. Ah, young human, you have good eye for quality merchandise, yes? This Zephyrian mount, very rare, very powerful. Only small cosmetic damage easily fixed with proper care. Maya raised an eyebrow at the obvious lies but kept her expression neutral. She had learned to navigate alien business practices during her time here, understanding that honesty was often a luxury these outer rim traders could not afford. The creature's injuries were far from cosmetic, and they both knew it. What happened to it? She asked, her hand hovering near the barrier controls. The Vorthak's eye stalk swiveled nervously. Combat injury from the war, nothing serious. Previous owner, very important military commander, had to sell due to financial difficulties. The translation was clearly sanitized. Maya had studied enough galactic history to know that Zephyrian battle horses were not sold willingly. They bonded for life with their riders, and separation usually meant death for both parties. The fact that this one still lived suggested something extraordinary had happened. May I examine it closer? Maya asked, already reaching for her credit pad. The trader's tentacles quivered with excitement. Few beings showed interest in damaged goods, especially humans who were known for their preference for mechanical vehicles over living mounts. He quickly lowered the barrier, eager to make any sale. Maya stepped into the pen slowly, her movements deliberate and non-threatening. The battle horse's head lifted slightly, nostrils flaring as it caught her scent. She could see intelligence flickering behind those dark eyes, a spark that the creature was trying desperately to hide. Approaching gradually, Maya began to hum a simple melody her grandmother had taught her, something about finding strength in gentle places. The horse's ears twitched forward, and for the first time since entering the pen, it showed genuine interest in its surroundings. When Maya finally reached out to touch the creature's neck, she felt a jolt of recognition pass between them. The horse's mind touched hers briefly, sharing flashes of memory, soaring through star-filled skies, the trust between rider and mount, the devastating loss that had left it broken and alone. In that moment, Maya understood why the other buyers had passed by. They saw only the physical damage, the obvious limitations of a wounded animal. They failed to recognize what she had spent years studying, the incredible adaptability and resilience that made certain species not just survivors, but partners capable of achieving the impossible. I'll take him, Maya said quietly, her decision already made. The Vorthak trader could barely contain his excitement as he processed the transaction. He threw in a basic saddle and some nutritional supplements, clearly eager to clear his inventory. As Maya led her new companion toward the station's temporary housing units, she caught the whispers of other traders wondering what the human girl could possibly want with such a worthless creature. They would find out soon enough. Maya had not spent 3 years developing her theories about human-alien partnerships just to let them gather dust in academic journals. This battle horse, broken as he appeared, was about to become the proof she needed that conventional wisdom was often the enemy of true progress. The creature followed her willingly, his steps gaining strength with each meter they traveled away from the sales pen. When Maya looked back at his face, she could swear she saw something that had been missing for too long. Hope. Maya's quarters on the trading station were cramped, designed for a single occupant and certainly not equipped for housing a battle horse. She had managed to convince the station administrator to let her use one of the empty cargo bays temporarily, though the looks she received suggested most beings thought she had lost her mind. The horse stood in the center of the bay, his head hanging low as Maya set up basic amenities. She had purchased bedding material, high-protein feed supplements, and medical supplies with most of her monthly stipend, leaving her own meals consisting of whatever protein bars she had stockpiled. "I suppose you need a name," Maya said, as she arranged the bedding in one corner. "The trader's records just list you as Asset 7749, which hardly seems fitting for someone with your obvious intelligence." The horse's ears flicked toward her voice, but he remained motionless. Maya had read enough about Zephyrian psychology to understand that he was likely struggling with severe depression, a common condition among battle horses who had lost their bonded riders. Most veterinarians recommended immediate euthanasia in such cases, considering the animals too dangerous and unpredictable to rehabilitate. Maya approached slowly, keeping her movements visible and non-threatening. When she reached his side, she began running her hands along his neck and shoulders, checking for injuries the cursory medical scan had missed. Her fingers found dozens of small scars, evidence of hasty surgical procedures and poorly healed wounds. "What did they do to you?" she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. As if triggered by her compassion, the horse suddenly raised his head and looked directly into her eyes. The mental connection that had sparked in the pen returned with overwhelming intensity, flooding Maya's consciousness with fragmented memories and emotions. She saw flashes of a massive space battle, plasma cannons lighting up the void between star systems. The horse soared through debris fields with impossible grace, his rider directing defensive maneuvers that saved countless lives. She felt the perfect unity between mount and warrior, two minds working as one in the chaos of combat. Then came the explosion that changed everything, a surprise attack from cloaked ships, concentrated fire that overwhelmed their formation's shields. Maya experienced the horse's desperate attempts to reach his falling rider, the anguish of watching the one being he had bonded with slip away into the cold vacuum of space. The connection lasted only seconds, but it left Maya gasping and shaken. She now understood why the battle horse had been considered worthless by other buyers. His previous rider had not simply died in combat. The warrior had been captured and taken to enemy territory, leaving the horse in a state of perpetual psychological torment. "Your name was Stormwind," Maya said softly, the knowledge flowing from their brief mental link, "and your rider was Commander Talon of the Third Fleet." The horse's reaction was immediate and dramatic. His eyes widened and his entire body began to tremble. Maya realized she had made a critical error in speaking the names aloud, triggering memories that the creature had been struggling to suppress. Stormwind reared suddenly, his front legs striking the air as a keening wail emerged from his throat. The sound was unlike anything Maya had ever heard, a combination of grief and rage that seemed to shake the very walls of the cargo bay. She stumbled backward, momentarily overwhelmed by the intensity of his emotional response. Station security arrived within minutes, drawn by the commotion. 3 armed guards in environmental suits pointed their weapons at the agitated battle horse, while shouting orders in multiple languages. Maya quickly positioned herself between them and Stormwind, her arms spread wide in a protective gesture. "Don't shoot," she called out. "He's not dangerous, just traumatized. Give me a chance to calm him down." The lead guard, a hulking Cronan warrior, shook his massive head. "Step away from the creature, human. It has clearly reverted to feral state. Protocol requires immediate termination for station safety." Maya's mind raced as she tried to think of a solution that would not end with Stormwind's death. She could feel the horse behind her, his breathing rapid and his muscles still tense with fight-or-flight instincts. The guards were moving closer, their weapons charging with the distinctive whine of plasma rifles preparing to fire. In desperation, Maya began to sing the same melody she had hummed in the pen, her voice clear despite her fear. The simple tune seemed to cut through the chaos, reaching Stormwind's consciousness in a way that words could not. Gradually, his breathing slowed, and the dangerous tension in his posture began to ease. The guards paused, clearly confused by this turn of events. Maya continued singing as she slowly turned to face Stormwind, her movements careful and deliberate. When their eyes met again, the wild panic had been replaced by something much more manageable: trust. "There's a good boy," Maya whispered as she reached out to touch his muzzle. "I know it hurts, but you're not alone anymore. We're going to figure this out together. The Cronin guard lowered his weapon slightly, though his expression remained skeptical. You have 24 hours to prove this creature can be safely contained, human. After that, we follow standard protocols. As the security team departed, Maya leaned against Stormwind's neck and tried to process what she had learned. The horse's condition was far more complex than simple combat trauma. He was psychologically bonded to a rider who might still be alive somewhere in enemy territory, creating a neurological conflict that conventional veterinary medicine could not address. But Maya was not a conventional veterinarian. Her research had focused on the quantum entanglement properties of certain interspecies bonds, theoretical work that her colleagues had dismissed as fantasy. Now, facing the living proof that such connections existed, she realized she might be the only person in the galaxy capable of helping Stormwind heal. The question was whether she could do it before the station authorities decided he was too dangerous to live. Maya spent the night researching everything she could find about Zephyrian neural architecture and bonding protocols. Her portable computer flickered with data streams pulled from the station's limited database, most of the information dating back decades to when the Zephyrian military had been more willing to share their secrets with allied species. Stormwind lay quietly in his makeshift stable, though Maya could sense his restlessness. Every few hours he would lift his head and stare toward the station's outer wall, as if he could somehow see through the metal and into the vast emptiness of space beyond. She knew he was searching for some trace of his lost rider, following a connection that defied conventional understanding. The breakthrough came at dawn when Maya discovered a classified report buried deep in the medical archives. A Terran xenopsychologist named Dr. Elizabeth Warren had spent 15 years studying the quantum entanglement effects in bonded pairs across multiple species. Her work had been suppressed by the military, deemed too dangerous for public knowledge, but fragments of her research remained scattered throughout various databases. According to Warren's notes, the bond between Zephyrian battle horses and their riders created measurable quantum field fluctuations that could persist across interstellar distances. The connection was not merely emotional or psychological. It was a genuine physical phenomenon that could theoretically be tracked and even manipulated with the right equipment. Maya's hands trembled as she read the implications. If Dr. Warren's theories were correct, Stormwind's distress was not just grief over a lost companion. He was literally sensing his rider's presence somewhere in the galaxy, feeling Commander Talon's pain and fear as if they were his own. "Is that what's been tormenting you?" Maya whispered as she approached the resting horse. "You know he's still alive, don't you?" Stormwind's eyes opened immediately, fixing on her face with an intensity that made Maya's breath catch. The mental connection sparked again, but this time she was prepared for it. Instead of being overwhelmed by the flood of emotions, she managed to focus her thoughts and push back with her own consciousness. The exchange was unlike anything Maya had experienced before. She felt herself touching the edges of an alien mind, one shaped by centuries of military training and genetic enhancement. Stormwind's intelligence was vast and complex, far exceeding anything she had imagined possible in a non-humanoid species. Through their link, she sensed his memories of Commander Talon, a proud warrior who had treated his mount not as a beast of burden, but as an equal partner. Their bond had been forged in countless battles, strengthened by shared victories and mutual trust. When Talon had been taken by enemy forces, Stormwind had tried desperately to follow, only to be shot down and captured himself. The horse's rescue and subsequent sale had been a cruel joke. His captors had assumed that removing his military implants and healing his physical wounds would be enough to create a marketable commodity. They failed to understand that his true value had never been in his body, but in the unbreakable connection he shared with another living being. Maya pulled back from the mental link, her head spinning from the effort. She now understood what needed to be done, though the task seemed almost impossible given her limited resources. If she could find a way to trace the quantum signature of Stormwind's bond, she might be able to locate Commander Talon and arrange a rescue mission. The problem was that such an undertaking would require equipment and expertise, far beyond what was available on a backwater trading station. She would need to convince someone with real authority to take her theories seriously, and her track record of academic rejection did not inspire confidence. Her contemplation was interrupted by the arrival of Captain Reese, the station's human administrator. The middle-aged man looked harried and uncomfortable as he entered the cargo bay, clearly reluctant to be there at all. "Ms. Chen, I've been reviewing your situation with the station council," he began without preamble. "I'm afraid the consensus is that your pet poses too great a risk to station security. We're going to have to ask you to make other arrangements." Maya felt her heart sink. "What kind of arrangements?" "The Vorthak trader has agreed to take the creature back at a reduced price. He assures us that it will be disposed of humanely." Captain Reese's expression suggested he did not entirely believe this claim. "You can't do that," Maya said, her voice rising with desperation. "This isn't just some broken-down pack animal. Stormwind is a sentient being with intelligence comparable to any humanoid species. Killing him would be murder." The captain's eyebrows rose at her use of the horse's name. "You've been attempting to communicate with it?" Maya realized she had revealed more than she intended, but there was no point in denial now. "Yes, and I've discovered something extraordinary. This battle horse is still psychically connected to his original rider, a Zephyrian commander who was captured rather than killed. If we could mount a rescue mission, we might be able to save them both." Captain Reese stared at her for a long moment, his expression cycling through disbelief, concern, and something that might have been pity. "Ms. Chen, I understand that you've become attached to this animal, but what you're suggesting is impossible. Even if such a connection existed, the bureaucratic process of organizing an interstellar rescue mission would take years. We simply don't have that kind of time." "Then give me a ship," Maya said quickly. "I'll go myself. Stormwind can guide me to his rider's location." The captain shook his head firmly. "I'm sorry, but I can't authorize the use of station resources for what amounts to a suicide mission based on unproven theories. You have until tomorrow evening to find an alternative solution, or the creature will be returned to the trader." As Captain Reese departed, Maya sank down beside Stormwind and buried her face in her hands. She had less than 36 hours to accomplish what seemed impossible: convince a skeptical bureaucracy to support a rescue mission into hostile territory based on scientific theories that most experts considered fantasy. But as she felt Stormwind's warm breath against her hair and sensed the steady pulse of his determination through their growing mental link, Maya realized that giving up was not an option. Somewhere in the galaxy, a warrior was waiting for rescue, and she was the only person who believed in the invisible thread that still connected him to home. She would find a way to prove that the bond between rider and mount was stronger than distance, stronger than time, and stronger than the doubts of those who had never experienced such a connection themselves. Maya's breakthrough came from an unexpected source. While frantically searching through the station's communication logs for any ship captain who might be willing to help, she discovered a priority message that had been overlooked by the automated sorting systems. The transmission was addressed to her specifically, carrying the authentication codes of the Terran Scientific Consortium. Dr. Elizabeth Warren was not dead, as Maya had assumed from the age of her research. The xenopsychologist had been working in deep cover for the past decade, documenting bonded pairs across the galaxy under the protection of a classified military program. Her message was brief but electrifying. She had been monitoring quantum fluctuations from this sector and detected the same signature patterns that Maya had described. In her academic papers, "I am currently aboard the research vessel Prometheus. 3 hours from your location," the message concluded. "Maintain contact with the battle horse and await my arrival. Do not let station authorities terminate the creature under any circumstances." Maya felt a surge of hope mixed with disbelief. The scientist whose work had inspired her own research was actually coming to help. But would she arrive in time? Captain Reese had made it clear that his patience was exhausted, and the station security forces seemed eager to resolve what they saw as a dangerous situation. She spent the remaining hours before Warren's arrival working to strengthen her mental connection with Stormwind. The process was exhausting but rewarding, as she gradually learned to interpret the complex emotional and sensory information that flowed between them. Through the horse's enhanced senses, she could perceive quantum field fluctuations that were invisible to normal detection equipment. Most remarkably, she discovered that Stormwind could actually sense the direction and approximate distance to his bonded rider. The information came not as precise coordinates but as a deep instinctual pull toward a specific region of space. Commander Talon was alive, imprisoned somewhere in the contested border territories between the Zephyrian Republic and the Keth Empire. When Dr. Warren finally arrived, Maya was struck by how different the woman was from her expectations. Instead of an elderly academic, Warren appeared to be in her early 50s with the lean build and alert eyes of someone accustomed to dangerous field work. Her research vessel was equipped with sensor arrays that Maya had only seen in theoretical diagrams. "You've made remarkable progress in such a short time," Warren said after reviewing Maya's preliminary data. "Most researchers spend years learning to interpret quantum-entangled consciousness patterns. You seem to have a natural aptitude for this type of work." Maya felt a flush of pride, though her focus remained on the immediate crisis. "Can you help us locate Commander Talon? Stormwind knows he's still alive, but I can't translate his perceptions into actionable intelligence." Warren nodded as she began setting up portable scanning equipment around the battle horse. "The quantum signature is surprisingly strong, probably because the original bonding process was enhanced by Zephyrian military technology. We should be able to triangulate his location within a few hours." The scanning process was unlike anything Maya had witnessed before. Warren's equipment seemed to measure not just electromagnetic radiation but something far more subtle: the quantum field disturbances created by consciousness itself. Stormwind stood perfectly still during the procedure, as if he understood that his cooperation was essential. "Fascinating," Warren murmured as data streams flowed across her displays. "The bond is not just intact. It's actually grown stronger over time. The trauma of separation has caused both minds to reach out more desperately for connection, amplifying the quantum entanglement effect." Captain Reese arrived midway through the scanning, accompanied by a full security detail. His expression suggested that he had come to enforce his deadline regardless of any new developments. Maya positioned herself protectively near Stormwind, prepared to resist any attempt at removal. "Dr. Warren, I presume," the captain said, his tone carefully neutral. "I'm afraid I haven't received any authorization for your research activities aboard this station." Warren looked up from her equipment with the calm confidence of someone accustomed to dealing with bureaucratic obstacles. "Captain, I'm operating under the authority of Terran Scientific Directive 847, which grants me unlimited access to subjects of xenopsychological significance. I can provide authentication codes if necessary." The captain's jaw tightened as he verified the codes through his personal communicator. Maya watched tensely, knowing that their entire mission could be ended by a simple administrative decision. After several minutes of hushed conversation with his superiors, Captain Reese's expression shifted from annoyance to resignation. "You have official clearance, Doctor, but I'm still concerned about station security. That creature has already demonstrated aggressive behavior, and my crew's safety remains my primary responsibility." Warren gestured toward her scanning displays, where complex three-dimensional maps showed the quantum field interactions between Maya and Stormwind. "Captain, what you're seeing here represents the first documented case of successful interspecies consciousness bridging involving a human subject. Ms. Chen has achieved something that most experts considered theoretically impossible." Maya felt her heart racing as she realized what Warren was suggesting. "You mean the connection isn't just between Stormwind and Commander Talon anymore?" "Exactly. Your mind has become part of the quantum entangled network, creating a three-way consciousness bridge across interstellar distances. You're not just observing Stormwind's perceptions, you're actively participating in them." Warren's voice carried a mixture of excitement and concern. "This changes everything we thought we knew about the limitations of psychic bonding." Captain Reese stared at the displays with growing unease. "Are you telling me that this young woman is now psychically connected to a potentially hostile alien soldier?" "Commander Talon isn't hostile," Maya interjected quickly. "Through Stormwind I can sense his emotional state. He's suffering, but his mind is still clear and honorable. If anything, the connection makes me more certain that rescuing him is the right thing to do." Warren began shutting down her equipment as the last of the scanning data was recorded. "I have enough information to pinpoint Commander Talon's location within a few light years. The question now is whether we can mount an effective rescue mission with the resources available to us." Maya looked around at the assembled faces. Captain Reese's worried skepticism, the security guard's obvious unease, Warren's scientific determination, and Stormwind's patient intelligence. The next few hours would determine whether her impulsive purchase of a broken battle horse would lead to one of the most remarkable rescue missions in galactic history. or simply confirm her reputation as a brilliant but impractical young scientist whose theories exceeded her grasp of reality. Either way, she was committed to seeing this through to the end. The quantum connection flowing between her mind and Stormwind's made retreat impossible, binding her fate to that of beings she had never met, but now understood better than most of her own species. The rescue mission that emerged from Dr. Warren's calculations was audacious, even by the standards of deep space exploration. Commander Talon was being held in a research facility on Keth Prime, the heavily fortified homeworld of the Keth Empire. The facility was protected by orbital defense platforms, automated patrol fleets, and some of the most sophisticated security systems in known space. "It's impossible," Captain Reese declared, after reviewing the tactical analysis. "Even if we could somehow penetrate their outer defenses, the facility itself is located underground, surrounded by military installations. We'd need a full battle fleet to have any hope of success." Maya studied the holographic displays showing the target location, her mind racing through possibilities. Through her connection with Stormwind, she could sense Commander Talon's location with increasing precision. The Zephyrian warrior was not just imprisoned, he was being subjected to extensive psychological experimentation, as the Keth attempted to understand and replicate the bonding process that made battle horses so effective. "What if we don't try to fight our way in?" Maya suggested. "Stormwind knows the layout of Keth military facilities from his combat experience. If we could get close enough, he might be able to guide us through their security blind spots." Dr. Warren looked up from her analysis with obvious interest. "The quantum connection might actually work in our favor. The closer we get to Commander Talon, the stronger the bond becomes. Stormwind's combat instincts and tactical knowledge would be enhanced by direct proximity to his original rider." Captain Reese shook his head firmly. "Even assuming you could somehow sneak onto the most secure planet in Keth space, how would you extract a prisoner from an underground facility? You'd need specialized equipment, combat support, and an escape route that doesn't currently exist." The answer came from an unexpected source. While the adults debated logistics, Maya had been quietly monitoring communications traffic through the station's intelligence networks. A priority message from the Zephyrian Republic caught her attention. They were planning their own rescue mission for Commander Talon, scheduled to launch within 72 hours. "They know where he is," Maya announced, interrupting the strategic discussion. "The Zephyrian military has been tracking the same quantum signatures we detected. They're sending a special operations team to extract him." Warren immediately began analyzing the intercepted communications data. "This changes everything. If we could coordinate with their mission instead of launching our own, we'd have professional military support and equipment specifically designed for this type of operation." Captain Reese looked skeptical. "Why would the Zephyrian Republic trust a human research team with sensitive military intelligence? Their security protocols are notoriously strict." Maya felt a surge of inspiration as the pieces of a solution began falling into place. "Because we have something they need. Stormwind isn't just Commander Talon's mount, he's a living navigation system. The Zephyrians might have the general location, but we can provide pinpoint accuracy through the quantum connection." The next several hours were spent in frantic preparation. Dr. Warren used her scientific credentials to establish contact with the Zephyrian military command, while Maya worked to strengthen her mental link with Stormwind. The battle horse seemed to understand the urgency of their situation, cooperating fully as she learned to interpret his tactical perceptions. The breakthrough came when Maya discovered she could actually share Stormwind's memories of Keth facility layouts, gained during previous combat missions. The information was fragmentary and sometimes confusing, filtered through an alien mind's perspective, but it provided details that conventional intelligence gathering could never achieve. Commander Valeth, leader of the Zephyrian rescue operation, arrived at the trading station 18 hours before the mission launch. The imposing warrior stood nearly 3 meters tall, his crystalline skin reflecting the cargo bay's lighting in prismatic patterns. His initial skepticism about human involvement faded quickly when he witnessed the connection between Maya and Stormwind. "Remarkable," Valeth said in carefully modulated basic. "I have served alongside battle horses for 40 years, but I have never seen a cross-species bond of this intensity. Young human, You have achieved something that our greatest riders spend lifetimes attempting. Maya felt a flush of pride, though her focus remained on the mission ahead. Stormwind can guide us directly to Commander Talon's location, but the connection works both ways. Talon will sense our approach and can help coordinate the rescue from inside the facility. The Zephyrian commander studied the tactical displays with obvious interest. Our original plan relied on external surveillance and probability calculations. With internal guidance from a bonded pair, our success rate increases dramatically. Dr. Warren presented her final analysis of the quantum connection's properties. The bond will continue to strengthen as we approach the target. By the time we reach Keth Prime, Maya should be able to maintain real-time communication with Commander Talon through Stormwind's consciousness bridge. Captain Reese had remained silent during most of the planning session, but now he stepped forward with obvious concern. Dr. Warren, you're talking about taking a 17-year-old civilian into a combat zone on an enemy homeworld. The liability issues alone would end my career. The mission cannot succeed without her, Commander Valeth stated firmly. The quantum connection requires direct participation from the human consciousness that is integrated with the bonded pair. Ms. Chen is not merely an observer, she has become an essential component of the rescue operation. Maya felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. 3 days ago, she had been a lonely researcher studying theoretical xenopsychology. Now she was preparing to infiltrate the most dangerous planet in Keth space, carrying the hopes of 2 species and the fate of a warrior she had never met, but knew more intimately than any being in her own life. Through her connection with Stormwind, she could sense Commander Talon's growing awareness of their approach. The imprisoned warrior's mind was sharp despite his ordeal, and his tactical knowledge was already beginning to flow through the quantum link. Maya realized that she was no longer just herself. She had become part of something larger, a consciousness network that transcended the boundaries between species and individuals. The rescue mission would test every theory she had developed about interspecies bonding, but more importantly, it would determine whether the connections between thinking beings could truly overcome the barriers of space, time, and hostile intent. As she prepared to leave the safety of the trading station for the unknown dangers of Keth Prime, Maya understood that she was about to discover the true limits of what it meant to be part of something greater than oneself. The journey to Keth Prime aboard the Zephyrian stealth vessel was unlike anything Maya had ever experienced. The ship itself seemed to pulse with living energy, its biomechanical systems responding to crew members' thoughts and emotions. Stormwind had been given a specially designed harness that allowed him to interface directly with the ship's navigation systems, creating a feedback loop that enhanced both his natural abilities and the vessel's performance. Maya spent most of the 3-day transit in a state of expanded consciousness, her mind flowing between her own perceptions and those of her bonded companions. Through Stormwind, she could sense Commander Talon's growing awareness of their approach. The imprisoned warrior's mental state was complex. Hope mixed with caution, tactical planning overlaid with emotional anticipation. The connection is stabilizing, Dr. Warren reported as she monitored the quantum field fluctuations around Maya and Stormwind. The proximity effect is stronger than I predicted. At this rate, you should have full communication capability by the time we reach the outer system. Commander Valeth had initially been skeptical about bringing a human civilian on such a dangerous mission, but his attitude shifted as he witnessed Maya's growing integration with the consciousness network. During tactical briefings, she was able to provide details about the facility's internal layout that no conventional intelligence source could have obtained. The detention level has been modified since our last reconnaissance, Maya reported, her voice carrying an odd dual quality as she channeled information from Commander Talon's perceptions. They've installed new neural dampening fields to prevent prisoners from accessing their enhanced abilities. The fields are strongest near the cell blocks but have gaps in the maintenance corridors. The Zephyrian tactical team leader, a scarred veteran named Korath, studied the updated facility maps with obvious interest. These maintenance passages, can your contact guide us through them without triggering security alerts? Maya closed her eyes and reached deeper into the quantum connection. Through Stormwind's enhanced senses, she could perceive Commander Talon's memories of the facility's construction. The images were fragmentary but useful. Hidden passages, emergency systems, structural weaknesses that external surveillance could never detect. He knows the way, Maya confirmed, but there's something else. The Keth aren't just holding him prisoner. They're using him as a test subject. They've been studying the bonding process, trying to replicate it with their own soldiers and war beasts. The implications of this revelation rippled through the assembled team. If the Keith Empire had succeeded in creating their own version of the Battle Horse program, the balance of power in the galaxy could shift dramatically. The mission was no longer just about rescuing a single warrior. It was about preventing a strategic advantage that could affect countless worlds. How close are they to success? Commander Valeth asked, his crystalline features reflecting his concern. Maya struggled to interpret the complex emotions and technical knowledge flowing through the quantum link. Commander Talon's memories of the experiments were painful and fragmented, filtered through layers of psychological conditioning designed to break his resistance. They're failing, she said finally. The Keth can replicate the neural interface technology, but they can't understand the emotional component. The bond isn't just about shared consciousness. It's about trust, loyalty, and genuine partnership. Those concepts are foreign to their military culture. As they approached the outer edge of the Keth system, the stealth ship's biomechanical systems began adapting to the local environment. Stormwind's connection to the navigation array grew stronger, his enhanced senses detecting patrol patterns and defense grid weaknesses that would have been invisible to conventional scanners. Maya felt the battle horse's excitement building as familiar star patterns came into view. This was territory he had fought over during the war, space that held memories of victory and loss. Through their shared consciousness, she experienced his warrior's instincts awakening after months of dormancy. Contact established, Maya announced as a new presence touched her mind through the quantum network. Commander Talon's consciousness was suddenly vivid and immediate, no longer filtered through distance and interference. The Zephyrian warrior's mental voice carried exhaustion and pain, but also unshakable determination. The communication that followed was unlike anything the rescue team had anticipated. Instead of simple information exchange, Maya found herself serving as a living conduit for tactical coordination between the ship and the imprisoned commander. Talon could perceive their approach through Stormwind's senses, while simultaneously monitoring security changes within the facility. Guard rotation in 30 minutes. Maya reported, translating Talon's observations. The neural dampening field will cycle down for maintenance in Sector 7. We'll have a 4-minute window to penetrate the detention level. Commander Valeth studied the real-time intelligence with amazement. This level of coordination should be impossible across such distances. Ms. Chen, you've created something unprecedented. The final approach to Keth Prime required all of Stormwind's combat experience and tactical knowledge. The planet's orbital defenses were formidable, but the Battle Horse's memories of previous missions revealed blind spots and approach vectors that the automated systems couldn't detect. Maya felt her consciousness expanding as she helped navigate between sensor nets and patrol routes, her human intuition combining with alien tactical expertise. The landing itself was a masterpiece of precision flying. The Zephyrian pilot followed Stormwind's guidance to a concealed canyon near the research facility, the ship's biomechanical camouflage adapting to match the local geology. As they touched down, Maya experienced a moment of perfect unity with her companions, 3 minds working as one toward a common goal. Phase 1 complete, Commander Valeth announced as the team prepared for ground infiltration. Ms. Chen, can you maintain contact with our target during the assault? Maya nodded, though she was already feeling the strain of maintaining such an intense mental connection. Talon is ready. He's been preparing the other prisoners for extraction. There are 17 Zephyrian soldiers in the facility, plus several civilians who were captured during recent raids. The revelation that other prisoners awaited rescue added urgency to their mission. What had begun as a focused operation to save one bonded pair had evolved into something much larger. A chance to strike a significant blow against the Keith Empire's research program, while saving dozens of lives. As the rescue team moved through the darkness toward the facility entrance, Maya remained aboard the ship with Stormwind, serving as their communication link and tactical coordinator. Through the quantum connection, she could simultaneously monitor the team's progress and Commander Talon's preparations inside the facility. The next hour would test everything she had learned about consciousness, Bridging and interspecies cooperation. Success would validate her theories and save lives. Failure would likely mean death for everyone involved, including the remarkable battle horse who had trusted her with his deepest memories and strongest hopes. Through Stormwind's enhanced awareness, Maya could sense the approaching moment when theory would finally meet reality in the most dangerous circumstances imaginable. The assault on the Keth research facility unfolded like a precisely choreographed dance between minds, separated by kilometers, but united by quantum entanglement. Maya remained in the ship's command center, her consciousness flowing between multiple awareness streams as she coordinated the rescue operation through her connection with Stormwind and Commander Talon, through the security cameras that Talon had managed to access. Maya watched the Zephyrian strike team move through the facility's corridors with supernatural precision. Every guard patrol, every sensor sweep, every automated defense system was anticipated and avoided through the real-time intelligence flowing from the imprisoned commander's observations. Maintenance shaft access in 30 seconds, Maya reported, her voice carrying the dual resonance that had become familiar during the mission. Talon has disabled the proximity alarms, but the window is limited. The rescue team's efficiency was remarkable. Commander Valeth and his soldiers moved through the facility like ghosts, their crystalline armor adapting to match the surrounding environment. They encountered no resistance until they reached the detention level, where the reality of the Keth experiments became horrifyingly clear. The prisoners were not simply confined. They were subjects in an ongoing research program designed to break the psychological bonds that made Zephyrian warriors so effective. Neural inhibitors prevented them from accessing their enhanced abilities, while psychological conditioning attempted to sever their connections to their bonded mounts. 17 soldiers confirmed. Maya relayed as Commander Talon's perceptions flowed through the quantum link. But there are complications. Some of the prisoners have been subjected to experimental procedures that may have caused permanent psychological damage. The reunion between Commander Talon and the rescue team was a moment of perfect emotional resonance that Maya experienced as if she were physically present. Through Stormwind's consciousness, she felt the commander's overwhelming relief and gratitude. Emotions so intense they threatened to disrupt the quantum connection entirely. But there was no time for celebration. Keth security forces were already responding to the intrusion, and the facility's automated defenses were coming online. The rescue team had minutes to extract all the prisoners before the facility went into complete lockdown. Emergency evacuation protocol activated, Maya announced as alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Talon says there's a service tunnel that leads directly to the surface, but it's protected by automated gun turrets. Commander Valeth's response was immediate and decisive. Can your connection help us navigate the defenses? Maya reached deeper into the quantum network, her consciousness stretching to encompass not just her direct companions, but the entire tactical situation. Through Stormwind's enhanced perceptions, she could sense the electromagnetic signatures of the defensive systems, their firing patterns and blind spots visible as fluctuations in the facility's energy grid. Follow Corridor 7 to the third junction, then drop down 2 levels, she guided, her awareness flowing between multiple perspectives simultaneously. The turrets have a 3-second reset cycle between target acquisitions. You'll need to move in precise timing intervals. The extraction sequence that followed pushed the limits of what Maya thought possible through consciousness bridging. She found herself simultaneously coordinating the rescue team's movements, monitoring Commander Talon's condition, and helping Stormwind prepare for his rider's return. The mental strain was enormous, but the quantum connection seemed to grow stronger under pressure, rather than weaker. When the rescue team finally emerged from the facility with all 17 prisoners, Maya experienced a moment of pure triumph that resonated through every level of the consciousness network. But their escape was far from complete. Keth patrol ships were already launching from nearby military bases, and the facility's orbital defenses were tracking their position. Stormwind, we need your combat instincts now, Maya whispered as she felt the battle horse's awareness shift into tactical mode. The flight from Keth Prime became a testament to the power of the consciousness bridge Maya had helped create. Stormwind's memories of combat maneuvers guided the pilot through defensive formations that should have been impenetrable, while Commander Talon's tactical knowledge provided strategic options that conventional military thinking would never have considered. Maya felt her individual identity dissolving into something larger as the quantum connection reached full resonance. She was simultaneously herself, Stormwind Commander Talon, and even aspects of the other rescued prisoners whose psychological bonds were beginning to heal in proximity to their rescuers. The breakthrough came when they reached the system's edge and prepared to jump to hyperspace. Instead of simply escaping, the Consciousness Network had identified an opportunity to strike back at the Keth research program. Through their shared awareness, they had mapped the locations of other facilities where prisoners were being held. "There are 3 more installations within a day's travel," Maya reported, her voice now carrying harmonics from multiple consciousness streams. "We could coordinate simultaneous strikes with other Zephyrian forces." What had begun as a desperate rescue mission evolved into the foundation for a new type of military cooperation. The consciousness bridging technology that Maya had stumbled upon while trying to help one broken battle horse had revealed possibilities that neither human nor Zephyrian military strategists had imagined. 6 months later, Maya stood in the command center of the first joint human Zephyrian research station, watching as teams of scientists and warriors worked together to explore the full potential of quantum-entangled consciousness networks. Stormwind grazed peacefully in the station's biodome, his bond with Commander Talon stronger than ever, but now expanded to include connections with other battle horses and their riders. The frail creature that alien traders had dismissed as worthless had become the catalyst for a revolution in interspecies cooperation. Through him, Maya had discovered that the barriers between minds were far more fragile than anyone had imagined, and that true partnership required not just understanding, but genuine unity of purpose. As she watched Commander Talon work with human researchers to develop new applications for consciousness bridging technology, Maya smiled at the memory of that first moment in the trading station when she had recognized something special in a broken battle horse's eyes. Sometimes the most profound discoveries came not from grand theories or expensive equipment, but from the simple act of seeing potential where others saw only limitations. The universe was vast and often hostile, but it was also full of connections waiting to be discovered by those brave enough to bridge the gaps between different forms of consciousness. Maya had learned that the greatest adventures began not with destinations, but with the willingness to form unlikely partnerships and trust in possibilities that conventional wisdom deemed impossible.